Welcome to Weirdaholics
with Tiffany
and Nicole.
How are you doing? You just got back from EDC.
I did. It was fantastic. There's just so much love in that place. And then I come back to the real world and everyone's an asshole.
Or you come back to Utah and everyone's an asshole.
Yeah,
it's very specific.
Mm-hmm, true.
So, weird thing of the week. I'm sure you have something after EDC, because that whole thing is kind of a weird experience.
It's all weird, yeah. I'll mention an EDC part. I was like dancing, and then a couple of guys started talking to me, and then some more people started talking to me, so we all became like a friend group. But this one guy, Rafael from Puerto Rico, he was like dancing all cool and stuff, and then I'm like, what are you on? Because he was just like, you could tell. He's like, everything, baby. And then he pulls out a baggie, and there's like a bunch of different pills and stuff in there. He's like, I already did one today. And then he took out a tab of acid and put it on his tongue, and he's like, woo!
Oh my god.
So I'm like, okay, that's fucking weird. Cool, dude. You're not your balls. But my other weird thing, you know that song, Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon?
Yeah.
So it was like a few days ago, I started singing that because, I don't know, someone was having, like, daddy issues or something, so I started singing it. And then the next day, Max was like, you know that song, Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon? What does that even mean? And I'm like, oh, that's weird. I was just singing that yesterday. And then when I was on my way to Vegas, I stopped at the liquor store, and then that song was playing the next day. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this trying to tell me?
That is weird, because you never hear that. Like, I don't hear that song very often at all.
It's very rare.
I've heard it, like, once on a clip of a TV show, and that's it. That's all I can remember.
Yeah. And it happened, like, 3 days in a row. It was so strange.
That is strange.
Yeah.
So strange.
Not strange, weird.
Yeah, weird.
Weird. What's your strange thing of the week?
Mine's kind of random. I mentioned belvedering on the last episode we did when we talked about naked bike riders.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to do a weird fact of the day about where the belvedering phrase came from. And it's from a show in 1985. There's a butler named Mr. Belvedere, and one time he accidentally sat on his own balls, and he sat on his own balls so hard that they had to stop the sitcom for a week while he healed.
Oh my god.
So that's where we get the I just belvedered myself phrase from.
Okay.
When a guy accidentally sits on his own balls. Well, not even an hour after I posted that weird fact of the day, I decided to watch an episode of Fresh Prince while I ate. And during the episode, Jeffrey said to Will, I think it's a bad idea for a butler to intertwine his private life with that of the family. Surely you gleaned that much from watching Mr. Belvedere. So it was weird that I mentioned that right after my weird fact.
Yeah. Did you drink Belvedere vodka as well?
I didn't even know there was a thing.
Yeah.
Ew.
Ew, ball vodka.
This is from squeezing the balls.
Ooh. I was wondering, balls can pop, right?
Ew, I don't want to talk about this.
Well, I was thinking, like, if you sit hard enough on the seat, like, it can be really hard.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure doctors have crazy stories about stuff that happened like that.
Yeah, we should interview a doctor.
Yeah. And then a few days later, Brandon accidentally belvedered himself, so maybe I drew it to him, or maybe it was just coincidence because he always belvederes himself anyways.
He always does.
Always.
And then he sits there for like an hour like, like, I'm not a guy, but I mean, get over it.
I really have no idea what it feels like. All I know is I have the worst cramps in the world.
Oh my god, yeah.
And I wonder if it's similar to that, or maybe they're not even as bad as cramps.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, you know how you can hook yourself up to these sensors that replicate women problems?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if we can have that for guys. Or if it's just like literal pain, like stubbing your toe or something, but like 1,000 times worse.
I don't know.
You know? Wow. I don't think I want to find out.
I don't think we could find out because, I mean, we could put like the electricity or whatever they use down on our coochie, but I still don't think it's the same thing. It probably would have to be up in the coochie.
Oh, yeah.
For it to replicate.
Oh, God.
But then I feel like it would just feel like cramps.
Yeah.
So maybe it is just like cramps.
Cramps suck.
Yes, they do.
That's the moral of the story.
Last time I had cramps, I was crying. It hurt so bad.
Yeah. I usually cry. Sometimes I throw up. Well, anyway. Lady problems, am I right?
All right. So another weird thing that happened to me was that I had a dream where I had to buy a new vape. The box of the vape said it was supposed to be blueberry, so I bought it. Then when I opened it, the flavor of the vape was actually eggs, salt, and rock.
Out of all the things in the world, the three things, eggs, salt, and rock. Eggs and salt I can do. Rock, why?
I feel like rock would be neutral enough. In fact, I feel like if it was just salt and rock, it might not be too bad.
Yeah, I didn't, like, there could be worse things. It could be egg, salt, and worms or something.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
Rock.
And the name of this flavor, it was called Literally the Worst. And in my dream, I was upset because I needed nicotine, and this was the flavor I got. But I needed nicotine so bad, I went ahead and just tried it, and it tasted exactly like egg, salt, and rock.
Whoa. I love
Somehow
that.
my brain knows what that would taste like.
I love that.
And then Brandon and I went to a vape store in real life the next day, and I was being goofy, so the person behind the counter asked me what they could help me with. I'm like, have you heard of this new flavor? It's called Literally the Worst. It's flavored egg, salt, and rock. He's like, and he took me seriously. He was like, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh my god. Oh.
And I was like, I'm kidding, dude. That was just a dream I had.
I'm impressed, because I probably wouldn't, like, try to joke with them. I'd be, like, too scared.
Yeah, but, like, a vape shop is way more, like, relaxed, so...
Chill dudes,
Yeah.
And dudettes.
So, it doesn't scare me as much socially to
Yeah.
joke around with them at the vape
Yeah.
store.
They're all like, yeah, dude, I'm cool.
I'm cool, too. I vape.
I vape.
So, it is storming right now. I don't know if y'all will be able to hear the rain hitting the window and the thunder.
Ambient sound.
Yeah, so I'm hoping if you can hear it, it's just a lovely ambiance and not annoying.
Yeah, so pull up your nice favorite comfy chair.
And a hot drink.
Yes. Coffee and whiskey.
That's what we're drinking today.
Ooh, a London fog would be nice.
Ooh, a spiked London fog.
Landon fog.
Landon fog.
That's what I'm going to name my firstborn.
Landon fog. That's
like-
actually kind of cool.
I was going to say the same thing. That was weird, too.
Yeah, the rain just got really
yeah.
intense.
We love it. We love it. This is going to be a special episode featuring rain.
Guest star Rain.
He's kind of loud and obnoxious, but kind of calming at the same time. You know?
Yeah. So, remember to take a drink whenever we say weird. If you want
Or
to join in
strange.
the drinking game.
Yeah.
Yeah, or strange, or unusual.
Or and.
Otherwise, just listen. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Drink some water.
Just drink some water. No, don't drink anything. If you're not going to partake in the drinking game, just dehydrate yourself.
Yeah, we've banned you from every liquid ever. Bitch.
So tonight, I'm so excited. So I'm going to be talking about past life memories, and this is a topic that means a lot to me. It's something that I am super interested in and actually have wanted to do this episode since day one.
Ooh.
But because it means so much to me, it's kind of that thing you do when something means more to you, you procrastinate because you don't want to like mess it up. You want to make sure you're prepared, but then you never get prepared.
Yeah.
So you're just like, I just got to do it.
And you're in this like vicious circle of just like, oh, I'll do it. Oh wait, no, I won't do it because it's not perfect. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it, and then I won't do it. So
Yeah.
it's episode 60 something.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are.
It better be perfect, otherwise I'm not gonna drink water.
Ugh.
I'm gonna dehydrate myself.
I spent all week researching and reading books.
yeah,
so,
I saw the one book.
Yeah, so this is as good as it's gonna get, and I just had to do it or else I was never gonna do it.
Good.
Okay, I got the information for this episode from a ton of different websites, but most of the information and all of the stories that I'm gonna tell you about is from Jim Tucker's books, Life Before Life and Return to Life.
And Return of the King.
What's
Lord
that
of the
off
Rings.
of? Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
A 2018 poll found that 33% of adults in the U.S. believe in reincarnation, aka past lives. So if you don't already know, reincarnation is the belief that after we die, our immortal soul is reborn into another body. We may not remember our past life, but our consciousness or soul is still living in another body.
You might talk about this, but what I kind of think is if reincarnation is real, and I'm living like a pretty decent life right now, like pretty good, in my next life or whatever, I'm gonna have to be like a fly or like live a terrible life. Like, you know?
Maybe if you like murdered a bunch of people, if you believe in the moral type of reincarnation.
Yeah.
Which is more of the religious aspect of reincarnation.
Okay.
Where this topic's going to be more scientific side of past lives. Rather than like a moral, religious type of reincarnation.
Good. Okay. Because I was like, maybe people have to take a turn at living a terrible life, and then you get to live a great life, and then like a mediocre life kind of thing. Yeah, maybe that's more religious.
And we'll kind of touch on that.
Cool.
The scientific reasoning of what might happen in that sense.
Cool.
But Jim Tucker, he's trying to keep it very scientific.
Good.
So that the larger scientific community will take it seriously. So it kind of touches on that in a scientific way.
Good. I wish someone would touch me scientifically.
But not too scientifically, because then that would ruin it.
Yeah, not like whatever his name is. Who's the star guy?
The star guy.
I ruined it. Yeah.
Neil deGrasse.
Not Neil deGrasse Tyson, but like a Bill Nye touch. You know. That is a lot of thunder.
Yeah, that thunder's scary.
Lord
it's coming
Almighty.
in waves.
Lord Almighty.
What the hell? We've got all kinds of creepy sounds, and it's like non-stop thunder right now. Unless that's an airplane.
It's like 5 jets.
Our soul is immortal that holds on to our memories and experiences from our past lives. Our physical body doesn't hold on to... Because it dies.
Oh, yeah,
if you didn't already know.
Yeah.
Okay. Even though scientists aren't 100% sure about what happens when we die, there's still significant evidence that suggests that reincarnation and rebirth are a real phenomena.
This is giving me hope. Because death is, like, weird to me. Like, you just stop existing. I can't fathom that.
I can't fathom it either.
Like, that's going to be so boring. But I'm not even going to exist, so I won't be bored. But it is boring. I don't know.
Yeah. By the end of this episode, I think we're all going to feel pretty hopeful about life after death.
Good.
In my opinion, I think so.
Will I get to the celestial kingdom?
Yes. If you make sure to marry 3 wives, you can get to the top kingdom.
Ah, perfect.
If you're polygamous.
Yeah.
Otherwise...
You're going to hell.
So research in past lives was pioneered by Dr. Ian Stevenson. He was a psychiatrist and a researcher at the University of Virginia School of Medicine, and...
Oh my! It's like getting closer.
Yeah. We've got some crazy thunder going on right now in the background. Hope it brings you...
It's just me dropping it low.
Rainy day moods.
You're all cutesy with your, like, rainy day. Like, I'm dropping it low, bitch.
So, his research began in 1958. So, still kind of new in a way, but that's still decades of research that has been gathered and evidence that's been gathered. So he spent decades of his career collecting evidence for past life memories in children from all over the world. In fact, all continents, except for Antarctica, has cases of reincarnation.
Oh.
Antarctica for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
No one lives there.
Maybe we should.
Yeah.
Maybe we should build a home there.
No, that sounds awful.
That'd be so fucking cold. Oh, God.
He logged an average of 55,000 miles a year and identified over 2,000 cases. He wrote more than 300 publications, including 14 books. No big deal.
This dude's busy.
Yeah. Like, he was finding cases all over and just so much writing to do.
Yeah.
So...
His fingers must be so buff.
With all that, the typing and the writing.
Yeah.
Dr. Jim Tucker... He was a child psychiatrist in a private practice when he heard about Dr. Ian Stevenson's research. And he was intrigued by the research he's done and all the evidence that's been collected. So he decided to begin working with the Division of Perceptual Studies, DOPS, in 1996.
Ah, dopes. I know that.
Dopes. So he's relatively new, but he has done an incredible job continuing the research and bringing it to the public eye. Like I said, I read 2 of his books for this episode, and he really does do a good job at trying to explain all this scientific stuff in a way that a common person could kind of understand it and follow along, you know?
Ah, yes, commoners.
Us commoners, us dumb people. But Dr. Stevenson ended up passing away in 2007.
Oh, fuck. We should have went to his funeral.
Yeah, if only we had known. And then since 2014, Dr. Tucker has been the director of DOPS.
Oh my.
That was some good thunder.
Yeah, and that was like scary too. He's been the professor of DOPS.
And he's continued the research on past lives. So thank you, Dr. Tucker.
Thank you.
I think they now have over 2,500 cases, but it takes a really long time for them to enter each case into the database, so they may not have all of the statistics yet because they're still typing them into the database.
Yeah.
I think they have at least over 1,000 typed in. That was from his first book. I don't know where they're at now.
That's pretty good. I mean, there's like 8 billion people on this planet, so they need to...
Yeah, but they only have 2,500 cases. Yeah. Not 8 billion.
Well, okay.
They don't have to type in all the people in the world, just the cases they have.
I mean, I was talking about the statistics. Are you the man from the statistics? No, wait, no. Are you the criminals from the statistics?
His new girl, right?
Yep.
The youths from the statistics.
Youths.
So Dr. Tucker is still getting letters about children with past lives, and he's still seeking out new cases to this day.
Once my firstborn is here, I will let him know that we have a new case.
He's like, what evidence do you have? You're like, oh, nothing yet, but I just know.
I know. I feel it deep in my soul.
I'll let you know once they start talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously though, now that I've done this research, I am going to be really keeping an eye on everything my child says and does.
Ooh.
Once I have a child, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have to have a child first.
Yeah.
So here's a quote from Dr. Tucker. A lot of it, to be perfectly honest, is trying to figure out the answers for myself. Hopefully my work or writings have had a positive impact on some people, but they're still trying to answer the question of what is the level of evidence that, in fact, there is a part of us that survives after the body dies. And his team has a criteria to determine if they're going to investigate a case. A case has to have at least 2 of the following criteria met in order for them to further investigate it. So there's 6 different things I'm about to say here. First one is prediction of rebirth, not just I will be reborn, but with some specifying details like they selected their next parents.
Whoa. So if you go up to homeless Dave and he's like, I'm going to be reborn, that's not a good case.
Correct. Okay. He'd be like, I know I'm going to be reborn to this person and this person.
Sandra Johnson and
Davy Jones.
Mary Jones, because it's the 21st century.
Whatever baby they adopt, I know that I'm going to be their baby. Yeah.
Like they said, Davy Jones.
Second, an announcing dream. Like, let's say you get a dream from your grandma saying she wants to be your next child so that she can continue living in this family.
Could you imagine that? Like, your grandma's your child?
There's actually a case of that I will tell you about.
Oh, hell yeah.
Next one, birthmarks or birth defects related to the previous life. For example, maybe the previous person died from being shot in the heart, then this baby that's born has this weird birthmark in that same spot where they were shot.
Ooh.
Again, it can't just be that one criteria. It has to be combined with another one of these on the list.
At least 2, yeah.
Yeah. Statements from the child about a previous life and at least one other older person confirming what the child said. Next would be recognition tests. For example, let's say you have photos of different houses and you see if the child can correctly pick out the house that they used to live in. You did research so that you were able to know which house the previous person lived in.
Yeah.
But the child and the child's family may not necessarily know that, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then last one, behavior that is unusual in their family but corresponds to behavior shown by the previous person in the past life. For example, maybe the child has a weird phobia of water that's unexplainable, but this previous person they claim to be drowned, and that's how they died.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. So after they find a case where at least 2 of those criteria match, and they get as much information as possible from the child's side of the case, and then they move to the previous personality side. What they do is they try to locate the family of this previous person so they can interview them and do research and try to match what the child has been saying to that previous person's life.
So it's like if this kid claims to be this guy who died drowning, and then they go and meet with the family of the guy that drowned.
Yeah, if there's any
stories match up.
Yeah, if there's any living relatives left, a lot of times the living relatives are like 80 years old, you know?
And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Shani.
Like, that was years ago. Where's my teeth?
My
I don't know. So
right next to you, Grandma.
As they try to find any living relatives, anyone who can corroborate the story. If not, they just go off of historical records and what information is out there online or in records, you know. So here's an overview and some weird facts and figures that stand out from their research at DOPS. This is a good list, like a pretty long list, but it's really interesting.
I'm down.
Children are usually between 2 to 5 years old when they start mentioning memories of a previous life. And it's shocking that it's so young. Like, imagine your 2-year-old saying, Mommy, I used to have a wife.
Like 2, sometimes they can't even speak right.
Like it'd be hard to understand them and know if you should take them seriously or if it's make-believe. And so they have to watch closely for that in their cases.
Yeah, or if someone's kid started saying like weird shit like that, it's like, oh, you're playing with your Barbies again, like imagination, whatever. Yeah, maybe they should just like actually listen and then be like,
I'm sure a lot of things the kids say is kind of dismissed, but then they say something very specific that's creepy, and they're like, okay, maybe there's some more to this. Like, Mommy, I died from this bad man who stabbed me in the stomach.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And you're like, where are you getting this from?
Yeah.
Children who talk about their past life memories tend to have advanced verbal skills at a younger age.
That makes sense.
So they're able to talk sooner than most kids.
Yeah, that would make sense.
16.
If they're like, goo goo gaga, blah, 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 blah. You're like, oh, you were a man who was shot and stabbed in the back of an alley and behind Wendy's?
I mean, I would be assuming that because I'm a crazy.
For real.
I am going to be a crazy mom.
Yeah.
The child was staring at that corner. Who's there?
There's a ghost. No, I would, I mean, I know kids can see shit that isn't there, so I'd be like, oh my god, they're seeing ghosts again, and they're just like staring in the ceiling.
And the thought is that children are closer to that veil because they were just born.
Yeah.
And they haven't really sunk into this reality yet, and so they're able to still have those past life memories or see through the veil or the realms, whatever, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to be watching stuff like that when I have a kid. 16 months is the average time between when the previous person died and when the child is born.
That's soon.
Yes, very soon.
I was expecting later.
Me too. I mean, that's just average. There's some that are like way sooner, sometimes even after. I'll go over a case where the child was born and then the person died, and I'll tell you more.
Oh, shit. Holy fuck.
And then some are like 50-year gap, like it ranges, but 16 months average. 20% of the children have memories of what happened in that time between their death and being reborn. It's like the in-between time, whether that's heaven or just wandering around in some kind of spirit body or something else. 20% of kids remember it. 20% of the children have scar-like birthmarks or even birth deformities that closely match the injuries the previous person had when they died. 28 years old is the average age of when they died in the previous life, and 25% of those cases died before 15 years old. So that tells us most of these kids died young in their past life. 90% of the children are the same gender as they were in their past life. About 70% of the children died in their past life in an unnatural or violent way, like murder, suicide, or combat. So this tells us that a child is more likely to remember their past life if there was some kind of extreme emotion or trauma at the end of their previous life.
That's kind of sad.
So, like,
because they're just going to remember this trauma for the rest of their 12 lives that they have.
Well, it's more
just one.
When they're a baby between 2 to 5 years old, they remember it, and sometimes it's very traumatic for them. But around 6 or 7 years old is when past life memories fade. Because your brain is going through a new stage of development, and those memories fade. So they go on living normal lives and forget about all these memories.
Yeah. And you're saying I'm going to be stuck as a woman for my next 12 lives?
90% yes.
Okay, cool. Actually, I'm okay with that.
Roughly 70% of the cases that reported violent deaths were male, which is almost the same percentage of males who die of unnatural causes in the general population. So it matches. More cases of children who remember past lives are reported in cultures where belief in reincarnation is more common. And this could just be because people in other cultures aren't recognizing it.
Yeah.
You know, it may not be necessarily happening more in those cultures. It's just maybe when we in the U.S., who don't generally believe in reincarnation, hear a child say something, we dismiss it as imagination.
I was just playing with your Barbies again.
Versus if reincarnation was in the forefront of our mind, we would be able to pick it up easier. Yeah. Studies of children who report past life memories don't show signs of dissociation. So their concern is maybe these children are like multiple personality disorder or some kind of dissociation disorder, but they're just normal children. They just have these memories, you know?
Yeah. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on my niece and nephew. One of them is 5, the other one is like 2.
Yeah.
And she's starting to talk, so yeah, I'm going to keep an eye.
And children who have reported past life memories were not more suggestible than other children. So that means they don't appear to be more fantasy prone than other children. They have a normal imagination. They're not
over imaginative.
They're not overly imaginative to the point that it's a concern.
Yeah.
You know? All right, ready for our first story?
Ready.
This is my favorite part of the episode, the stories. All right, so this story is about Patrick. Patrick was Tucker's first case. Patrick had 3 birthmarks that matched injuries on his deceased half-brother Kevin, who had died 12 years before he was born. Kevin had some medical conditions, and he began limping at 16 months of age. He had developed bruising around his eye, and he eventually went blind in his left eye. And because of his medical condition, sadly, Kevin did end up passing away at a young age. Now, when Patrick was born, his mom, Lisa, said that as soon as the nurses handed Patrick to her, she knew that he was connected to Kevin.
I feel like moms know.
They have that intuition.
Things like this, yeah.
The gift of maternal intuition.
Yes. Maternal intuition.
She noticed a white opacity started to cover Patrick's left eye, and he was later diagnosed with corneal glaucoma. So he was essentially blind in his left eye, just as Kevin had been blind in that eye.
Ooh.
Lisa also felt a lump on Patrick's head right above his right ear, which was the same place where Kevin had a tumor that was biopsied. Patrick was also born with a birthmark on his neck. The mark matched where Kevin used to have an IV in his neck. Lisa also noticed that Patrick started to limp as he got older, even though he didn't have any medical reason to do so.
The hell?
What's weird is that Kevin used to have that same limp.
This is wild already.
Yeah. If Patrick is the reincarnation of Kevin, then the marks on Kevin from his hospital visits must have left a large enough impression on him for it to transfer into his next life as Patrick. And also his attachment to his family, especially because he died at such a young age, probably caused him to want to be reborn into the same family, which is why he ended up being his own half-brother eventually.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. It's like, I didn't have enough time on this earth with my family. I want more time, and so I'm going to
wait till mom gets... Yeah, he's going to wait till mom gets pregnant again and jump right back in. When Patrick was 4 years old, he began talking about Kevin's life. The first thing he said was that he wanted to go to the other house, Lisa asked him why he needed to go to the other house, and he answered, "Don't you remember? I left you there." Lisa asked Patrick what their old home used to look like, and he said, "Chocolate and orange." Lisa was surprised because she used to live in an orange and brown apartment building while Kevin was alive. One time, Lisa was getting ready for work, and Patrick asked if she remembered when he had surgery. After she told him that he's never had surgery, he replied, "Sure I did, right here on my ear," and pointed to the spot where Kevin's tumor was biopsied.
Oh my god. If I didn't know any better, I'd be like, this kid is wacky. I'm taking him to the adoption center.
I know a lot of people who don't even know about reincarnation probably just, this kid's creepy.
Yeah, this kid's like psychotic.
Yeah. Another time, Patrick became excited when he saw a picture of Kevin. He said, "Here's my picture. I've been looking for that. That's me."
Whoa.
Patrick asked Lisa one night, "Did you know that you have a relative that no one talks about?" He explained that he met his relative in heaven before he was born. He described what the relative looked like and told Lisa that his name was Billy the Pirate, who had been killed by his stepfather. He also said that Billy was upset that no one talks about him after he died.
Wow.
Lisa didn't know about a relative named Billy, so she called her mom to ask if she knew. Her mom replied that her oldest sister did have a son named Billy who was killed by his stepfather, and like Patrick said, the murder was never talked about in the family. She also confirmed that they used to call him Billy the Pirate because of his wild nature.
Wow. First of all, that's fucked up that some guy was murdered and
by his stepfather, and they don't even talk about it.
Yeah,
no wonder he's like, "Oh, hey little boy, you're from the same family line. Tell them fuck them for not talking about me."
Yeah, I would be pissed too. Like, I would haunt every single person in that. Like, fuck that.
Talk about me more.
Remember
me.
Remember who you are, Simba.
It's just a little weird that all of those examples are very specific.
From one kid.
From one kid who wouldn't know this stuff otherwise.
Mm-hmm. I would be creeped out, though.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah.
It is.
Like,
especially coming from a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little creepy until you, like, start to recognize this is normal, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, next story. This one is about Ampan. Ampan started to talk about her past life when she was 5. She was crying one day, and she said she wanted to go home. Her mom said, "You are home." And Ampan replied that her home is in Buham village, which is about 3 miles away from them. Ampan said that her name was Samwang before she died, and that Samwang had died from dengue fever, which is an illness spread by mosquitoes. She said that after she died at the hospital, a van took her body away. She ran after it, but she couldn't keep up. She just kept walking, and after a few miles, she passed by the road in front of her current parents' house, where she was looking for water. She saw her future mother. There was a cool breeze, and rather than continue her journey, she laid down to rest, and that's when she was born to her mother.
Weird. She remembers all that?
Yes.
That's so cool.
And one little note that I want to take from that is she was looking for water. That tells me maybe it feels real in this between time to the point where you think you still need to eat and drink and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
And she wanted to rest, so it showed that she was getting tired. And she couldn't keep up with the van.
Yeah.
So the reality is similar to this reality, possibly.
Maybe it's not quite going into the spirit realm, but it is an in-between, like limbo area or something.
And it could be multiple different levels, and she was just on a level that was very similar to this reality. Who knows? There's a ton of different experiences that people have in the in-between. None of them seem to be exactly the same, which is interesting. When Ampan was 8 years old, she went to Buham with her mother for a festival. When the bus reached Buham, Ampan led her mom to a house. When she saw the woman living there, Ampan ran up to her, gave her a hug, and called her mommy.
Whoa. I'd be like, well, what the fuck are you doing?
This woman confirmed that she used to have a daughter named Samwang who had died of dengue fever. While she was there, Ampan said she wanted her Buddha amulet back. And Ampan knew exactly where the amulet was.
Whoa.
After about an hour of visiting her old home and family, Ampan's mom said it was time to go, but Ampan didn't want to leave. So Ampan was able to continue visiting her past life's family 2 or 3 times a month, up to like 10 days in a row. So it's almost like she got to continue to live her past life, plus have her new life and family.
Yeah. It's kind of nice. I was thinking, like, this is kind of a sad story because you're not with your family anymore. You're, like, with this new family. But probably both families feel normal for
Yeah. It's like she has 2 families.
Yeah.
Because she retained those memories, maybe because she was able to find the family and enjoyed staying with them so much. She actually retained her past life memories for a lot longer than most kids do.
Yeah.
But it would also suck for if you were her mom and she's like, no, that's my mommy.
Yeah. I'd be like, ouch, I birthed you.
Next story. This one is super fucking weird. This is the story about a boy named Juta who lives in Thailand. 4 months after he was born, his uncle was killed in a motorcycle accident near Bangkok. A few months later, Juta developed respiratory issues and a fever for several days. After he recovered, his family noticed there was now 2 dark spots on his left arm, and they realized that the marks looked similar to what his deceased uncle had on his arm from a tattoo he had started to get. Judah also developed an outie belly button, like what his uncle used to have.
So he had an innie and then it developed into an outie?
Yeah.
What the fuck? It's just like, boop.
Yeah. I don't know how normal that is for it to...
Not at all. I don't think. Jesus.
And then when Judah was old enough to talk, he called his grandparents mother and father. And he started to call his own mother Little Noe, or Silly Noe, which was weird because his uncle had given her that nickname to tease her, and he was the only one who used it.
Oh, God.
When the deceased uncle's friends would come over to visit, Judah would joke with them like they were close buddies, and he'd put ice in several glasses, then pour beer or whiskey into them and stir them with his finger, just like the uncle used to do. Then he'd give them their drinks and even drink one himself.
Oh my God. It's like this little kid's just like, let's get fucked up.
He was like 2 years old.
2?
And he would pour drinks for his friends, stir it with his finger like he was some kind of like, I'm used to this shit.
Yeah.
And drink one for himself.
Oh my God. First of all, take the alcohol away from that kid. Second of all, what the fuck is happening?
One friend noticed that Judah would even pour the beer the same way as the uncle used to. He'd hit the bottom of the bottle to get the last bit out.
Oh my God.
I'm going to start doing that now.
Yeah, just... Is it worth it, though? Is it worth it to get, like, the little last bit?
Yes. When Judah was 2, he showed interest in construction equipment and said that he worked for a company in Bangkok building condominiums, which is what his uncle used to do. And when he'd see his uncle's motorcycle, he would say, "That's mine."
Don't fucking ride on it, dude.
Like,
that's like foreshadowing.
He like drinks some whiskey, then goes for a ride on a motorcycle as 2-year-old.
His arms are like way up here for the handlebars. It's like this giant helmet, like. Vroom, vroom.
When Judah turned 5, he finally stopped talking about his uncle's life. And so this is a very interesting example because Judah's date of birth was before his uncle died. So that might mean that the uncle's soul pushed out the soul that was in the newborn so he could take over. And
he's
maybe,
like, get the fuck out of here. This is my body now, bitch. And then the soul's just like lost.
Sad. So it was like maybe the 2 souls were fighting over the body and the uncle won. And it's interesting to note that Judah's parents said that Judah's behavior seemed to go back and forth when he was younger. He'd want alcohol some days, but not on other days.
He wanted alcohol. Yeah, my kid wants alcohol. Let's take him to a bar.
So it's like they were fighting over the body, like, and that's when his personality would like change depending on who was winning. I guess.
Poor kid.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So it's a little scary if you think like you have your baby. Who knows if this other soul is gonna try to like push it out and hey, I want to turn.
Yeah, I would be scared.
Yeah.
This is a new fear that's unlocked.
Yeah, like, seriously. I mean, maybe that's what possession is. But it seems like those possessions are more demonic, so maybe not.
I want a demon baby.
No,
That'd be
you
fun.
don't wish
It
such
like
things.
turns its head all the way around, like, hi mom. Like,
Imagine trying to breastfeed a demon
oh my
baby.
god, I'm just like bite everything off.
Yeah, that'd be dangerous.
And it'd probably puke a lot too.
Oh yeah, all over the place. Here's a story of yin yin. People in certain areas of Southeast Asia sometimes make a mark on a body after someone dies, hoping that the person will continue to have the mark in their next life. That way they can identify them easier. And this is called experimental birthmarks.
Does it work?
I think so, sometimes. I mean, this story is an example. So, Yin Yin's grandma died 9 years before Yin Yin was born. Right after she died, they made 2 marks on her body. One was on the left leg above the ankle, and the other was on the right leg below the ankle.
Do you think they're like cuts or like just
I think it was,
Sharpie marker?
if I remember correctly, it was like with ash.
Oh, that would probably do it more so than a Sharpie.
Maybe.
Because I think that's like a little witchy, like occultish with ash.
Yeah, it was either with ash or they would have to like actually cut the body.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it said. So when Yin Yin was born, she had birthmarks that matched both the marks they made on her grandma's body. What's interesting is that before Yin Yin's mom got pregnant with her, she had 3 weird dreams where her mother, which is Yin Yin's grandma, this is when she was already dead, she wanted to come live with her. So in the dreams, she'd be like, I want to live with you. Can I be with you? And then the mother would say no. But
yeah,
then,
for $2,000 rent.
yeah.
The housing market is psychotic right now.
Right? But her grandma became more and more persistent until her mother relented and said, as you wish. A month later, she became pregnant.
As you wish, like Wesley.
Yeah.
As you wish.
But it's a little creepier because she's saying, yeah, Mom, you can go into my body and be my next baby.
Oh, yeah.
So Yin Yin / grandma was born.
And was named Yin Yin.
Yes. She began talking around 18 months old.
That's really soon.
Yeah, it is, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know normal baby stuff.
Yeah, I think like they start talking like 2.5.
Do they?
2-ish. Yeah, I think so. They start like saying words like early-ish on like 2 years, and then they have full-on conversations like 3, 4, 5.
Let me look it up. They say their first word between 12 and 18 months of age.
They're like, Grandma, die.
Grandma, die me.
Grandma, die. Me now.
Me now.
they just take away like 2 words. Grandma is dead. She is me now.
She asked about her mortar, like a mortar and pestle where you mash herbs up in this bowl thing.
Uh-huh.
So she asked about her mortar, and this used to be the grandma's. And when her uncle hurt his knee, she said the medicine should be ground up in the mortar and put on his knee.
Why are all these uncles getting hurt?
I don't know.
That's the real question here.
Yeah, but like imagine this 18-month-old kid being like, "Where's my mortar?
I need to put where's my
you need
mortar
to put
and
this,
alcohol?
this, and this and put it on his knee. He'll feel better."
Really, like my 5-year-old nephew, I can barely understand what he says.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Where my moto peto? Moto putney.
The grandma also used to have a shell that she used during ceremonies. Others in the family didn't use shells, but during a ceremony, Yin Yin asked about where the shell was. When Yin Yin turned 2, she talked more about her previous life. She asked what happened to her money and jewelry because she used to be well off.
Bitch, where's my money?
Seriously. The family had financial problems after the grandma died, so the money was all gone. So Yin Yin asked them why they spent all her money.
Yeah, I would be pissed too. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Just imagine,
I left you all this money and you just, like, spent it.
It reminds me of, like, that one skit with Will Ferrell and that little girl who's the landlord, and she's like, "Where's my money?
Where's my money,
Give me my
bitch?"
money.
Yeah.
It reminds me of
He's
that.
like, I'll give it to you. I'm sorry.
This little 2-year-old demanding where her money went.
Yeah.
We spent it all.
I'd be so mad.
And one time, Yin Yin was being spanked by her mother, and she asked, "Why do you not respect your mother?"
That's so weird. Just imagine for a second. you're spanking your daughter, and why don't you respect your mother? Like, you're my daughter. What the hell is wrong with you? Are
It's
you
so
possessed?
fucking weird because you're like, oh yeah, this is my mother reincarnated, so I'm
Yeah.
like spanking my own mother
Fucking
in a weird
wild.
way.
So weird. Ew. Ugh.
For a while, her family would feed Yin Yin eggs because it's believed that it would help you forget your past life, but it didn't help.
Sad. Why do they want her to forget?
Probably because they want to be able to spank her without being like, why don't you respect your mother?
Who's your mommy? Ew.
You need to be able to like raise your children, and it'd be really hard
Yeah.
to do that when they keep reminding you that, no, you're my child, I'm your parent.
That is fucking weird.
Yin Yin's grandmother used to call the neighbor Da Win Ki. So did Yin Yin, even though no one else called her that. She also called her parents and her aunt and uncle by their given names. During World War II, Yin Yin's grandma used to live with a cousin in Tavoy. She called the cousin Baby, and so did Yin Yin, even though no one else called her that. And Yin Yin once said to Baby, "Please shut your ears because the English bombers will drop the bombs."
Holy shit.
And they think maybe she was referring to the bombing of Japanese soldiers in Burma by the English during World War II.
Oh my god. This is crazy.
She would also eat with one leg hiked up in her chair, which is how her grandma used to eat.
Damn, what a lady. I'm into that.
I mean, she was really rich. She'd
Yeah.
call her friend Baby.
She could do whatever the fuck she
Yeah,
wants. She
she's
wants
like,
to eat like
don't
that.
spank me.
I'm your
You need-
mother, bitch.
I'm your mother. Respect me.
Yeah.
Like, what an attitude.
I know, I love her.
Me too. But eventually, as she got older, the memories faded, and she talked less about her life as the grandma.
That's really sad.
It is sad.
But I guess it's normal or better for the actual mom who's like, oh, thank God you're not my mom.
And it's probably better for the kid because they can live a normal life after.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
She's walking around with a cane. She's like, oh, I'm 70 years old. And then when she hits like 5 or whatever, she's like, oh, okay, now I can be a kid.
That must be nice, though, if you died really old and you have those memories because you get to have this child body that is young and
Yeah.
vibrant and energetic, you know?
Yeah, I still feel like I'm...
Well, except that you have, like, no sense of balance. You don't even know how to walk, so maybe that's
true.
frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I still feel like I'm 22 or something deep inside, but my body's like 60. So,
Yeah, it depends on the day, too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel really old.
Like, Tuesdays are the worst.
Tuesdays aren't great, honestly. I don't like Tuesdays. I enjoy Wednesdays and Thursdays, though.
Oh, me too. Fridays are pretty good.
Yeah, they're exciting.
Yeah.
But then sometimes they can be really bad. Like if you had plans and they got canceled or something,
yeah.
or you have no plans and you realize how lonely you are,
Yeah.
then Fridays can
It's
suck.
like 2 a.m. and you're sitting there crying.
Then yes, Fridays can suck. This next story is super weird. Dalawang claimed that he had been a snake in his past life.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, if I live a great life right now, maybe the next life I have to take a turn as a fly or a snake.
Yeah.
Because it's just what you have to do. Like,
Yeah.
everyone has to live a shitty life. Or maybe a snake isn't a shitty life. I don't know.
You'll see.
Continue.
Dalawang will tell us. He will tell us whether he liked being a snake or not.
He's like,
by the end of the story.
And we're like, what are you saying?
You have to talk like Harry Potter.
I almost said basil tongue.
Basil tongue. What is it?
Basilisk, I think, right?
Is it?
Oh, no, parcel tongue is
Parcel
the part,
tongue,
but basilisk
yes.
is the snake thing. Basil tongue. Pasta.
Just before Dalawang was born, his father had eaten snake meat when it was served to him by an acquaintance who had killed a python. When Dalawang was 3, that acquaintance, Mr. Hugh, came over to a party. Neither Dalawang nor his mother had ever met him before. But when Dalawang saw him, he got mad and tried to find a hammer or a stick to attack him
Holy
with.
shit! This kid's a murderer!
Not really.
A hammer just smashes his face in? I don't like that particular dude.
When they asked Dalawang why he was so angry at Mr. Hugh, he said that Mr. Hugh had killed him when he was a snake, and he even explained how he was killed.
Ooh.
He said that they were in a cave when he was a snake, and he was attacked by 2 dogs. Then the owner of the dogs, Mr. Hugh, killed the snake. After Dalawong confronted him about this, Hugh confirmed that he had indeed killed a snake in that way. And Dalawong even touched Hugh on the left shoulder and said, "I bit you there." And Hugh confirmed, yes, he had been bitten there by a snake. Dalawong said that after he died, his spirit saw his future father and thought that he was kinder than the other men who were eating the snake meat. So he followed him home and entered his mother's body. So it's weird to think that his father technically ate his son's previous body as a snake.
I don't... I'd find another dad.
Yeah, just find someone else entirely.
I'd keep, like, floating around and then be like, this guy looks good.
Dalawong eventually got over his anger toward Mr. Hugh and decided that it was better to be a human than a snake anyways.
True.
In fact, he began killing snakes himself.
No!
He believed that he was doing them a favor by killing them because being a snake was very difficult.
Oh, yeah. I could see that, but also, isn't that, like, what a lot of weird psychopaths do? They're like...
Yeah, killing animals.
Yeah, killing animals and, like...
What if
this is terrible, your other life is going to be better.
Yeah, maybe some psychopaths really do kill in that maybe they have that feeling of like, you don't want to be an animal. Here, go on to your next life.
Yeah.
Maybe some psychopaths even kill other humans with that mindset. I don't know, but...
Like, it's not their choice, per se, but yeah, I don't know.
I think it's pretty messed up that he started killing snakes after that.
Yeah.
I mean, remember how mad you were at Mr. Hugh for doing it?
Yeah, seriously.
Just because you enjoy being a human doesn't mean they will want to.
Yeah, what if they like being
life.
snakes? Yeah.
They had baby snakes at home.
Yeah.
Dalawong would also visit the cave where he was killed as a snake, and he'd meditate there and get insight about herbs to heal the sick. Through this insight he gained through meditation, he eventually became the village doctor. Weirdly enough, Dalawong was born with ichthyosis, which is a skin condition that causes his body to be covered in scales. So his skin kind of looks snake-like.
Oh my god, yes. You'll never escape being a snake. Take that.
Maybe in his next life he'll have less scales.
Yeah.
Or because he's going around killing all these snakes, his next life is going to be a snake again as karma.
But like a worse snake. Like a garden snake. Not a cobra, but a garden snake.
It was a python.
Oh. I mean, that was a cool snake.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one's got to be like a stupid snake.
What's the stupidest snake you can think of?
Probably a garden snake, because they don't even do anything.
Is it even called a garden snake? Like, is that their technical
I think so.
term?
I
don't even know.
Because king snakes are the poisonous ones, I
don't know. Don't question me on snakes.
What's the top poisonous snake? Black mamba.
Black mamba.
Oh, see, you knew,
but
you knew.
We only knew because of Kill Bill.
That's true, yeah. Fuck.
Which doesn't count. We shouldn't get our knowledge from
Quentin Tarantino.
Okay, next story. James. Dun dun dun.
Just James.
Just James.
We have all these cool names and then James.
This story is about James, who lives in Lafayette, Louisiana, who has a fascination with airplanes. James was 22 months old when he went to the Kavanaugh Flight Museum outside of Dallas. At the museum, he became even more obsessed with airplanes, and he kept wanting to return to the museum. When James would play with his toy airplanes at home, he'd repeatedly crash them into the coffee table and say, "Airplane crash on fire!"
Oh my god. He's a psychopath too.
When he was 2 years old, the nightmares began. Andrea, his mom, would find him thrashing around and kicking his legs up in the air, screaming, "Airplane crash on fire! Little man can't get out!" And these nightmares would happen multiple times a week. While he was awake, he'd explain to his parents that before he was born, he was a pilot who flew from a boat. His plane got shot in the front by the Japanese, caught on fire, and then crashed into the water, and that's how he died. When Bruce, his dad, asked which boat he flew off of, he replied, "Natoma." The dad replied saying, "Yeah, that name sounds Japanese." But James said, "No, it's American."
Is that racist?
Bruce decided to get a book called The Battle for Iwo Jima, 1945. While he was looking through it, James crawled onto his lap. They saw a map of Iwo Jima on one page, and then the other page was an aerial view of the base of the island. James pointed to the photo and said, "That's where my plane was shot down." James also mentioned he had a friend named Jack Larson, who was another pilot. Bruce thought all of this was super weird, so he decided to search online for answers. He discovered the USS Natoma Bay was an escort carrier stationed in the Pacific during World War II. In 2002, Bruce and James went to a Natoma Bay reunion where James was able to get confirmation that one pilot was killed during the Iwo Jima operation, who was a 21-year-old from Pennsylvania named James Houston, and that James' plane was hit in the front of the plane, which was the middle of the engine. He also confirmed that there was another pilot on the Natoma Bay named Jack Larson, who was the other pilot his son had mentioned. So I'm sure Bruce was freaking out to learn that everything his son had been saying is factual, historical facts that are matching up. And also one weird thing that happened at the reunion, a veteran asked James, "Do you know who I am?" James replied, "You're Bob Greenwalt." And when they asked James how he knew that, he said he could tell who he was by the sound of his voice.
What the fuck? Okay. Yeah, if some kid knew my name, I'd be like, what the fuck? How did you know that? What did you Google? Are you old enough to Google? What the fuck?
And yeah, he's never met Bob Greenwalt before. I mean, he has, but in the past life. Yeah. Soon after his third birthday, James began drawing creepy pictures.
Oh, here we go.
He'd draw battle scenes with ships, and planes were flying above. He drew hundreds of these pictures. This kind of compulsive behavior is actually similar to those with PTSD.
Yeah, I couldn't handle a kid drawing creepy-ass pictures. Nope. Taking you right to the adoption center.
They also noticed that James was signing these drawings with James 3. And at first they thought it was because he's 3 years old, but once he turned 4, he continued to sign it with James 3, so they asked him what it meant. And James said, "It's because I'm the third James."
Whoa.
So they believe that he was calling himself a third James was because James Houston was a junior, and his father's name was James.
Oh, okay.
So his previous life, he was also named James.
Yeah.
And that James was a junior.
So now it's the third James.
Yeah.
And like the succession of this James spirit.
Yeah. That always ends up, maybe just like, I know this family's going to name their child James. That's my next destination.
Yeah. Fucking weird.
It is weird that his first name happened to match his previous life's first name.
Yeah.
James said that James Houston had 2 siblings, a sister named Annie and another named Ruth. Annie was 4 years older than him, and Ruth was 8 years older. Very specific. The parents were able to confirm that these details were correct because they got to meet that sister Annie, who was 84 years old at that time. One night, Andrea had a glass of wine, and James looked at it and said that his father had been an alcoholic and that his dad had to go to the hospital for a while because of it. And they were able to confirm with Annie that their father did, in fact, have a drinking problem and went to rehab. I'd have a hard time drinking wine in front of my kid after that. Like,
yeah.
He had to deal with an alcoholic father, and I'm drinking.
Look, I'm not an alcoholic kid, but...
Let me have one little wine, okay?
One little wine. It's an entire bottle.
One day, while James was playing in a swimming pool, he was pretending to shoot at airplanes in the sky, and he said that he was shooting the Japs.
Oh my god, crazy ass racist kid. He's like, brah, brah, brah.
A lot of these
Japs,
kids,
Mom.
yeah, a lot of these kids actually carry some racism from a past life because that's what was normal.
Yeah, we were all like way fucking racist.
His mom told him he shouldn't say that and that the war was over anyway since we won. When she told him that, James was stunned for a moment, then got all excited, jumping up and down and celebrating that we won the war.
Oh my god. Kids are so crazy. Oh my gosh.
Well, imagine, like, you have memories that you were in the war and now you're just hearing that, no, we won the war, it's over.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, from, like, an outsider's perspective, some kid running around like, we won the war! Like, that was, like, years ago, buddy.
Yeah, just imagine you're at this pool party and you hear this kid, I'm shooting Japs. And then the next thing you know, we won the war! Another weird thing that happened with James is he had G.I. Joes who he named Billy, Leon, and Walter. His parents thought these were odd names to give, so they asked him why he decided on those names, and he replied that these were the names of people he met in heaven. And after some research, they found out 10 men from Houston's squadron aboard Natoma Bay were killed before Iwo Jima. The names of 3 of them were Billy, Leon, and Walter. And the hair color of each G.I. Joe matched the ones he named them after.
Okay, that's cool.
Andrea asked James if there really is a heaven, and he said yes. She asked where it was, and he spread out his arms and said, it's right here.
Whoa.
She asked what it looks like, and he said it's the most beautiful place in the world.
Aw, that's cute. That gives me hope, too. Maybe I'll go there someday.
You are here. It's here.
This sucks. Heaven sucks, man.
It's probably just like in a different dimension or reality. I don't know how it works.
It's probably like they're among us right now.
Yeah.
And heaven is like a ton better. We can still see things that are here, but we can also see things that aren't here that are much better.
And I'm sure it's a different heaven than we realize. It's just like a reality that's like this, but better.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Andrea asked him if there's really a God, and James said yes. But God isn't a man or a woman. God is whoever you need them to be at the time.
I love that.
James also said that not everybody comes back after death. You get to choose. You can come back, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. One day, Bruce hugged James, his dad. He hugged James and said he was happy to have him as a son. And James responded that when he picked Bruce, he knew he'd be a good daddy. Bruce asked him what he meant, and James said that when he found Bruce and Andrea, he knew they'd be good to him. Bruce asked where he had found them, and James said in Hawaii. Bruce and Andrea had gone to Hawaii before James was born. It was their first week of trying to get pregnant, and Andrea had just gotten off the birth control pills.
Oh, man.
Weird. So our future babies could be hanging around us, waiting for us to decide to get pregnant.
They're watching you get jiggy with it.
Yeah, maybe they are. Like,
ew.
Is it time yet? Is it time? Okay, now go.
Jump in this egg. Ew. So gross.
So, why do some people remember their past lives and others don't?
Probably because they're special and they were just born special.
They're God's favorite.
Yeah.
We might all have past lives. Most of us just don't remember it. And maybe there are way more children than we realize that are talking about their past life, but they just can't communicate it well, or they're not taken seriously. We think it's just a weird imagination.
I was cursed with a bad memory, so I am probably one of those kids who, like, just never remembered.
Yeah, same here. I have the worst memory.
Yeah.
Unless it's something that's, like, really random and not important.
Yeah.
But as soon as it comes to, like, a fight, I'm like, well, I can't remember what exactly you said, but it was really mean.
But I'm mad at you for some reason.
For children that we do know have past life memories, the strength of emotions around the time of death might play a role in whether or not someone remembers their past life. If their death was sudden and violent, it likely leaves an emotional imprint strong enough to be retained in the next life. And that would explain why most of these children, 70%, who remember their past lives, died in a violent or unnatural way. And maybe they had unfinished business and didn't get to fulfill their past life, and this could explain why so many of the past lives had ended at a younger age.
Mm-hmm. And you said that they can choose whether to stay, like, in the spirit realm or whatever.
Well, I don't know for sure, but I think it was James that said you can choose.
Yeah, okay.
So, how is reincarnation possible? We want to know the science behind it, right?
Yeah.
So Tucker believes the answers might be found within the foundations of quantum physics.
Oh, shit. This is gonna be good.
So scientists have long known that matter like electrons and protons produce events only when observed. Here's a simplified example of what that means. So if you take light and you shine it through a screen with two slits in the screen, behind the screen there's a photographic plate that records the light. And they were thinking that, it would just show the two slits of light on the photographic plate. But instead, what they found was when it's being observed, the photon or the light only goes through one of the slits. So the light's behavior changes, and the only difference is that it's being observed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the photons somehow know there's an observer, and then they change their behavior, which they found was super weird. They haven't really been able to totally understand what that means. There's a lot of debate on what that really means. But Max Planck, the father of quantum physics, and Dr. Jim Tucker both believe that this means the physical world is affected by and could even be derived from our consciousness. So the physical world exists because of consciousness.
This is very interesting. Because I kind of believe a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your mind creates your reality.
Exactly. That's what this is about. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But however, there's a paradox. You have to have a universe first in order to have an observer. But if what they're saying is true, that the physical world exists because of consciousness, then that means you can't have an observer without the universe.
Yeah, you need, like, the universe exists because of the observer, but the observer exists because of the universe.
Right.
It's like what came first, almost?
Yeah, exactly. So Tucker believes the way out of this paradox is for consciousness to be primary. So here's a quote from Dr. Tucker. "The universe is not a purposeless place that we came to exist in by random accident. Consciousness is the primary force of existence, and the physical universe is secondary to it. It exists because we exist, a product of our group imagination. We think of our minds existing in this world, but it's actually the world that exists in our minds." End quote. So consciousness being primary, so our physical world could exist, could mean that consciousness doesn't necessarily die when the physical body dies. Consciousness could continue after death, so we can return in a future life, even if our physical body dies. Now, all of this is just theory at this point, but they believe future advances in quantum physics will help us better understand how reincarnation works.
This all blows my mind, but it's also, like, pretty believable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It may sound crazy, but...
Science.
Science rules.
So with our consciousness creating reality, combined with evidence of people's experiences of near death and past lives, Dr. Tucker believes the afterlife may be similar to dreaming. Here's a quote from him. "I no longer imagine that we go to another place when we die. Instead, we have another dream. There doesn't need to be just one afterlife. Each individual starts another dream at the point of death, and the nature of the dream can vary from person to person." End quote. So, for example, in near-death experiences and what children remember from the weird time they had between being dead and born, each experience seems to vary. Some said they were in heaven, while others wandered around or were in a waiting type of area. So everyone's experience seems to be a bit different. So it seems like there's not just a single place that everyone goes to when they die. We can go on to experience our next consciousness created reality, aka the next dream, whether that be back in this reality born within the same family, or a whole new family, or some kind of heaven reality, or stuck in a spirit world to become a ghost who's stuck, who knows. But it's also similar to a dream in if you have an emotional attachment to someone or something bothering you before you fall asleep, you usually dream about that situation or you dream about that person.
Yeah.
You're sharing that next dream state or the reality with that person because of the attachments. It's kind of like if you have a strong emotional attachment to someone, maybe that attachment helps you stay with that person in the next reality, or maybe the next reality, depending on when you both die or when you're both reborn. And that's maybe what a soulmate is like you have such a strong attachment that you end up like meeting up again in the next life or whenever you can.
So beautiful.
Because that strong attachment brings you back together.
I also believe there's not just one soulmate out there for you. So,
yeah, maybe in the next life you actually get with someone you've always liked but never had a chance to be with, you know?
Mm-hmm. Or instead of soulmates finding each other and like being attached, you just get sealed in the Mormon temple.
Yeah, and then your family's forever.
Yeah. Families can be... Just kidding.
And just like our emotions, experiences, and unresolved issues can affect our dreams, our life experiences could affect us after we die, and unresolved issues may persist through to our next life. Just like our world is created by our mind, maybe the spiritual and afterlife world is also created by mind, so they all seem just as real as this world does. Just like how we're in the middle of a dream, the dream seems real while you're in the middle of it, right?
What if we're in this conscious whatever state right now?
Well, that's what he's saying we are.
Oh my God.
Because consciousness is primary.
Yeah.
That creates our world. Just like, I guess it's kind of like when the tree falls in the forest. If there's no eardrums to hear it, it doesn't make a sound.
Doesn't bear shit in the woods.
Yeah, like nothing, if there's no observer, like does it actually happen, you know? And just like in the quantum physics, if there's no observer, what's really happening only happens when you observe it.
Yeah.
As we learn from our mistakes and grow, we learn how to overcome our issues, hopefully, and we can improve them in the next life, and then the next life, and the next life, until it's no longer an issue for us. Or maybe it gets worse. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully you're living your life in a way that you make progress to the next life.
We can hope.
Yeah. Another interesting thing that I thought about, and that Dr. Tucker brings up in his book, is that from these examples, these stories, it seems like time isn't linear like we think it is. So, for example, the story of Judah. He was born after the uncle died, but he became his uncle.
Yeah.
And then, like the weird story about Yin Yin, how the grandma was able to be born to her own daughter. A mother's mother becomes the mother's daughter, and who knows if that mother will eventually become her daughter's daughter again. You know? So it's not so linear. It's not just this person, then this person, then this person. Mm-hmm. If reincarnation is real, it's this person, then this other person that was back here is here again. You know what I mean?
And then they pushed out this spirit of consciousness of this other person.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem so linear like what we think. It's not as straightforward.
Yeah.
Or like when a child who isn't even born yet is able to witness things that their parents do before they're actually born. Like how James was able to see his parents in Hawaii when they were deciding to have a kid. Mm-hmm. Like he had knowledge of that event even though he wasn't even born yet. Again, doesn't seem very linear.
Yeah.
These examples suggest that individuals are able to see across these realities while they're in one or experiencing another one. Similar to how some mediums are able to experience a spiritual realm while they're still in this physical realm, they're able to cross boundaries of consciousness. This also shows us that our consciousness and conscious created realities are more fluid and interconnected than we may think. And I want to end with just this last thought that I thought was just beautiful. And it's how...
I hate beauty.
Yeah, you do. And how Tucker's book ends on this note as well. Even though we're all individuals, we're also part of something bigger. We're co-creators in the shared dream we call life. We may all arise from the same consciousness, from some larger conscious force. Here's a quote from Dr. Jim Tucker. Our physical world grows out of consciousness. So the entirety of existence grows out of this bigger whole, this ultimate source. As mere streams of thoughts from one large mind, we are not separate. We are all in this together. And just as our experiences in life can enrich our individual minds, if this awareness that we are all part of the ultimate helps us be a little more patient, a little more accepting, a little more loving, if it helps us to focus more on our shared experiences and less on our differences, then perhaps in some small way we will be better able to enrich the ultimate, and with it all of existence. End quote.
I love that.
Beautiful. So with reincarnation, there's always another opportunity to do better in our next life. This is a much more hopeful message than having this one life to be perfect or else be banished to hell forever.
YOLO.
And that's what you got.
I love that. I believe.
I believe.
I believe. Yeah, I fully believe mind creates reality. Yeah, I don't know. It all just blows my mind, and it's crazy to think about, and it's like...
It's fun to think about, too.
Yeah. So, yeah, just do good in this life, and in the next, and the next.
And maybe you're going to be your daughter's daughter someday.
Your grandma's... No, your daughter's grandma.
Whoa.
One day you'll be a snake.
Yeah, you'll be a snake someday.
You'll be a snake.
Thanks for listening, and if you'd like to support us, you can listen to deleted scenes, bonus stories, fun stuff like that at patreon.com/weirdaholics.
And thanks to our Patreon subscribers that are subscribing right now.
Yes, thank you, Donor Party. And follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for listening.
Do, 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 do.
Drink.